Hey everyone, it's Susan with Sharksploitation Sunday, and I'm coming to you with another brand new movie review. This one just came out, and it's called Shark Waters, directed by Jaden Call. And this is coming to you from the Asylum, who you might know from all of the sci-fi shark movies that they've been shitting out lately. Sometimes, guys, you might want to take a break, but is it even worth a watch? Well, we'll get into it in just a sec. But first, I do want to remind you to hit that like button and subscribe, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill. What I will say about Shark Waters, it is a little unique in the fact that it is a group of great white sharks. Yeah, a shit ton of great white sharks, shit ton meaning 5. But anyway, that's a lot more than you usually get, right? They're attacking Cabo San Lucas because they're hyper aggressive because of climate change or some bullshit. So all the yellowfin tuna that's usually off the coast has just fled to better shores. And yeah, what's the substitute for yellowfin tuna? People! I mean, duh. We get a good taste of what we're in for right in the beginning as a couple on a jet ski gets attacked by the group of sharks. And listen, I will give it this. The underwater CGI sharks are pretty damn good. I mean, they're pretty anatomically accurate, even to the point where they have the little, like, reflections of the water surface and the sunlight coming through is all, like, rippling on their skin. And I'm like, okay, damn. When it goes sideways is when they get to the surface. It's always the case like that. Like, they're good underwater, and then they get to the surface, and the whole thing just goes down the toilet. Yeah, the water looks fake, the blood looks fake, the shark looks fake. It's like something that you would concoct in CGI 101. I mean, it's not good. And even sometimes they intersperse some real footage of great white sharks. However, at one point they interspersed real footage of a bull shark. Like, we're not supposed to notice that that's not a great white shark. We fucking notice. The plot of this film centers around a woman, Lucia, who gets sent off on a fishing charter for the day by her dad, who is, oh boy, how should I put this? Dramatic. Anyway, Lucia gets on this boat called the Jubilation, which is captained by Captain Banning, who, as you'll know from the vast amount of over-explaining that goes on in this movie, is a really cool guy, and everybody seems to have a story about him that you hear over and over again. There's a first mate named Shadow, which took me a lot of Googling to figure out that it's not Shadow, S-H-A-D-O-W, but Shadow, S-H-A-T-T-O. Okay. And to round off our little 3-hour tour to hell, we have a couple named Donna and Wyatt. And they are very much in love, and you just know right off the bat they're going to get... Oh wait, there's more. The Coast Guard gets involved, and there's a guy who is manning the chopper, and he's gone out to see what disaster befell the couple that was on the jet ski at the beginning of the movie. And he actually is calling these groups of sharks shimmers or shivers. Enunciate more. I couldn't understand what he was saying, but what the hell does that mean? Like I said, the sharks are pretty well depicted underwater. They're anatomically fairly close to what a real great white shark would look like. They never show the genitals, though, so I don't know if they got the male genital claspers right or not, but they never do show that area. I figure they just don't want to go there. Male sharks have 2 dicks, and man, nobody gets that right. The sharks do some funny movements, though. Like, they keep, like, shoulder bumping things. Like, sharks in real life use their nose or their teeth, but they're all like, hey, they're like bumping the boat, they're bumping each other, they're like, what's up? I don't think that is working for you, Shark Waters. Shit hits the propeller when Donna gets a hit on her line, and it turns out to be one of our little group of great white sharks, and all shit kind of goes haywire then. I mean, you've got, like, Lucia gets some hook through her hand, so she's injured, and she's acting like a big baby about it. Meanwhile, Donna's getting eaten alive as the shark bumps her into the water. Of course, Wyatt is freaking out, and some shark ends up getting pulverized in the propeller. You know, for all the over-explanation they do with the dialogue, they really don't explain the action very well. So I don't really know what happened, but anyway, the end result is there's blood all over the boat, and they are dead in the water. They're just broken down. And because they went out so far to try to find that elusive yellowfin tuna group, they are out of radio contact for any warning that the Coast Guard put out about these fucking great white shark shiver things, whatever they call them. Another interesting take they have in this movie is that apparently you can kill a very big, strong, 3-ton great white shark with just a little tap of the oar. Oh yes, they keep killing them by just hitting them one time with an oar. Don't think that you should try that at home, kids. Probably wouldn't work out that way. And it doesn't work out that way at all for Wyatt, who gets undramatically eaten. I don't even know if they show that much of it. Again, they just kind of skip over all the good parts and focus on the banality of the dialogue. Lucia ends up getting through to her father and is like, help, we're all fucked, we're dead in the water, there's a bunch of great white sharks, get the Coast Guard. So the dad ends up going to his drunken captain friend, Dan, and he recruits him to be the hero, take a big boat out there and save the day. Doesn't actually work out that way because they end up on this little motorized rubber raft that doesn't look like it would be safe at all when you're being stalked by a group of great white sharks. I think you might have been a little safer if you had all piled onto a rubber ducky at that point. I mean, you couldn't find any other boat but that. Much like you might be thinking about with me in this video right now, I mean, just move it along already. There's a little sandbar that's sitting out in the middle of the ocean, and so they paddle this big boat over to the sandbar so they can kind of ground themselves so that they're not floating around, and the great white sharks can't get easy access to them when they're on the sandbar because the water is so shallow. However, Lucia still manages to get her leg bit, and even though it's not bleeding that much, she seems to be in dire straits. Another scene drags on way too long when they're trying to tend to her wounds, and it's just... this movie could have been over in an hour if you just cut that shit out. So the suspense of this plot is supposed to be that high tide is coming in, so at some point they're going to be lifted off the sandbar and flung back into this shark-infested water, which I think they're down to like 3, maybe 2 sharks at this point, because all of the other sharks were killed with the tap of an oar, so we're down to 2. You know, for that suspension plot point, they really never fulfill it because high tide never comes in, and they're still stuck on the sandbar by the time that her dad shows up with the other drunken guy, Dan, in their little dinghy rubber raft. And for some unexplained reason, the sharks don't attack the very vulnerable couple of dudes in this little tiny rubber raft. They completely ignore them. Captain Banning keeps over-explaining the situation that they're in. I'm like, we get it. We've been watching this. You've said this 5 times. Shut up and move this along. I don't know why this upsets me so much anyway, folks. I mean, I don't know what mood I was in when I watched this movie, but goddamn, was that pissing me off. So Lucia's dad, Dan, they're there in the tiny little dinghy, and it's ridiculously tiny, guys. Like, you're gonna die when you see it. It's so stupid that they would show up, and they're supposed to be way out in the ocean, like deep ocean, so they made it out there in no time. Meanwhile, the Coast Guard chopper still isn't there. So Shadow becomes the hero. He jumps out of the boat because they're trying to get it off the sandbar, and he's trying to dislodge the boat because the guys on the dinghy also tried to pull it with a rope off the sandbar. They're in a boat this big boat, and they're like, trying to pull it off the sandbar in their little rubber raft. I mean, this movie, and yeah, Shadow gets it. Lucia jumps onto the dinghy like, oh, Papa, you saved me. And Dan ends up getting knocked into the water. There's only 1 shark inexplicably at this point. I missed something there along the way. That 1 shark does manage to kill Dan, and all of a sudden, Captain Banning just starts pouring gasoline all over the Jubilation and just sets it ablaze and jumps into the dinghy. Okay, well, it's good to put an insurance scam right in there at the end. I couldn't really tell because I think I blinked at some point, but I think the explosion killed the last shark. I don't know. Oh, but the conversations don't stop there, you guys. The chopper finally shows up and proceeds to say this long monologue about how Captain Banning saved his life when he was going through a divorce. Like, seriously, this is after the climax of the movie, and they expect us to sit around and listen to this bullshit? Then they get in the chopper, and the end is them having a stupid conversation. Like, this movie could have just been so much better if they just moved it along. We don't need to listen to the same dialogue over and over again, guys. Much like I'm doing in this video, because I'm explaining how they over-explain everything, and now I'm over-explaining it to you. Gah! Final scene, we get to see that there is a shark left. So, did it blow? I don't know. Maybe this is another shark, an unrelated shark. He's got a hand in his mouth, and he's just kind of swimming towards the camera. The end. Whose hand is it? Where did that shark come from? Who fucking cares? This movie's over. Thank God. So I would suggest you maybe skip this one. It's not very exciting. It's actually really, really boring. Well, that's it for today, kids. I'm going to go recover from watching this snooze fest of a movie. But you know what's not a snooze fest? Buy a book, Encyclopedia Sharksploitanica, comedic review of 85 of shark movies that you know, love, or maybe never heard of. And you can always do that through the link in the description box below. I'll see you next time, kids. Bye!